discuss the deal of unions. The goals of unions today in the world today are explaining the roles of state and federal laws, describe the history of labor laws, and discuss the process for establishing a new union, changing unions, and eliminating unions. Representation. Now, going down key terms, one of the first key terms you have to know when it comes to unions is bargaining unit. Please explain bargaining unit.
Right, Steele. Bargaining unit is within a unionized company any group of employees whose employment contract is negotiated together. So.
The next key term is authorization card. Now, what does this mean, Blue Mag?
Well, Rocky Steele, to establish a union, the organizer would obtain employee signatures on the card that was known as authorization cards.
Eldorado.
And then what would I do if I needed an NLRB?
Well, the National Labor Relations Board is the controlling company that really puts everything together for the unions.
Okay, so let's go to our next story. What's the verdict? What's the verdict? Jerry is employed as an administrative assistant at an electric factory. The company ships its produce throughout the United States and to many other countries. Is Jerry's employment subject to state employment law, federal employment law, or both? Anything to comment, Blue Mag?
Jerry's employment subject is definitely subject to state employment law and federal employment law. So,
thanks, Blue. Boston bootmakers formed an association with the intent to negotiate higher wages. The state of Massachusetts prosecuted them, alleging that wages. Further, the state alleged that the wages increase would be passed on the consumer, thereby injuring them. Is the conduct by the bootmakers criminal? Anything, Matt?
No, actually, it's not illegal. They were just forming a union.
Why was it not?
They have a good idea.
Because unions were made to give workers better rights and
Better rights.
yeah.
Would you stop?
Joyce was a union member who frequently complained about working conditions, even though she did work more than was required of her. She was fired. When she asked why, her boss stated that it was because of her pro-union and anti-management attitude. Must Joyce and her union go to court to get this matter settled? Anything, Blue Mag?
Yes, they may take this to court because the court could really drive a stake in the problem here.
Could they?
Yeah, they could.
Just goes to show. This is all from the Federal News. I'm Ricky Steele. Rocky Steele.
And Blue Magnum here. We're going to move on to lesson number 2. Now, this is Blue Magnum and Rocky Steele. We're coming back to you for part 2 on the unions.
Lesson 2. Goals. Explain how union certification affects employees. Goal 2. Discuss unfair labor practices by unions and management.
Waterboy. Thank you, sir.
The first key term that we have in this summary, right to work laws. Can you enlighten us a little bit on this, Blue Mag?
Well, the right to work laws prohibit compulsory union membership and ban the union shop, closed shop, and the agency shop. Now, the next one is the open shop. We're going to define that. That's when employees are not required to belong to a union and they don't have to pay dues.
What about union shops? What if we had a union shop? What would we do there?
Well, non-union employees may be hired, but they must join the union within a stated period, usually about 30 days. Now, the agency shop is where employees are not required to join the union, but if they do not, they must nevertheless pay union dues as a condition of employment.
Okay, hold on, Blue Mac. They're telling us outside we are getting signs of a strike. Could you explain to us what that is, what a strike is?
When the union doesn't agree with the management, they usually have a strike to collectively stop working, and that usually forces the employer to give in to the union's demands.
Now, how is this different from a lockout? Like, what's a lockout? Explain to us a lockout.
Well, a lockout's when an employer temporarily closes operation to include the union to agree to the employer's position.
Hey! What about deadlocked? What is a deadlock? I'm sure most people haven't even heard of a deadlock.
Well, it's when a union and an employer cannot agree on important issues.
Unfair labor practices. We'll finish it up there.
Well, these laws prohibit dangerous and unfair working conditions, but a boycott is a refusal to buy or use someone's products or services.
So, what's your verdict on this one? Phil was an employee of Long Distance Tucking Incorporated Union, organization, or collective. What rights does Phil have in this situation?
Well, Phil has a right to either join the union or he could go on his merry way.
On his merry way.
Yes, sir.
We all wish we could do that.
Now,
Ace Incorporated manufactures automobiles, parts for several U.S. car companies. The same union represents all of its manufacturers' employees. Historically, labor and Ace manage what alternatives are available to solve this problem?
well, you know, they could take it to court if Ace has a true problem and does not allow the negotiations to continue solely because
That's Gray Blue. More.
Well, I got this.
Mulroy.
He's been hitting the sauce. He really can't read very well. Mulroy worked in a factory where leather goods were manufactured. During lunch hour and after work, Mulroy was active as an organizer for a labor union that sought to be recognized as a sole bargaining agent for the employees. Mulroy's employer said she better than union wages and did not want to deal with the union. She fired Mulroy because of her organizing efforts.
I guess Mulroy fought the wall, and the wall won.
Now, was Mulroy's employer legally permitted to do so? No, she was not, because after the Great Depression, that was not allowed. Alright, well, we have our last case right here. There's a man named Paul, and after he voted against forming a union, he tried to negotiate directly with management. He also complained loudly to other employees about how much money was being deducted from his paycheck from union dues. In response, some union officials went to management and asked him Paul to be fired. Union officials implied that labor negotiations would go more smoothly if management agreed to this request. As a result, Paul was fired. Now, Paul does have a claim against the union, because Paul... That's just really illegal how they did that. He could bring it to court, and he could bring up the 14th Amendment.
Good one,
to
Blue.
process. Yes,
Now, we'll come back to you after this quick commercial break. Cats in the street forming mobs. Not good. Hello, this is Rocky Steele. We have an important update and announcement, so we'll go to my partner, Blue Magnum. Give us the update, Blue.
Well, guys, we learned about the unions and what they've been used for in the past, present, and probably the future. They've really helped to protect the jobs of those who work really hard and those who really help this country. Now, I hope you enjoyed our presentation. I did.